Friends, we may have just driven the 2017 Porsche 991.2 Targa GTS, but you know what that means. Got to catch up with our old friend Hurley.
MotoMan, it's good to see you again.
I would say that it's been a long time, but it hasn't, because you and I just got together in Amelia Island.
Yeah, and I had to spend years talking you into coming down to that event, and finally I was able.
You did.
Succeeded, and
I promised I would come someday.
Yep, and I think you enjoyed yourself.
I went to Amelia Island. I'd love to tell you that I went there for the show, but really I went to see your collection. And I'd love for you to share the one car that I love. And granted, there's a lot of good stuff there, not just Porsche. But tell the audience the one car, that 959, that's not just any 959. Why is it special?
Well, we were really lucky to be able to get that car from Dr. Bott's collection. When Dr. Bott passed away, his wife called us and she talked to Bob Snodgrass. She said, "Would you like to buy our 959?"
And for those of the two people that don't know who Dr. Bott is,
he was the head of research and development at Weissach at Porsche.
Amazing. Heavy
Duty guy, and we bought the car, and it's in our collection, and it's just a magnificent. It was #1, and when we got it, it had, there was matched luggage with his name on it in the trunk. There was a book that had all of the experiences and thoughts of the people that drove that car, ranging
and
from.
Who were some of the people?
I mean, Michael Schumacher was in there as a kid. He was a teenager when he drove that car. So it was just, and it was kind of interesting because all of the comments in the book were in the language of the person that was actually doing it. So it was a little bit difficult to translate, but we, had enough people.
I'm assuming some Portuguese, some German, some English.
Spanish, you named them. It was a cross-reference of a lot of different nationalities and a lot of important people in the industry that drove that car. So it was nice to have that. So, but having Dr. Bott's car and having that as #1 was really special. So it just added to already a fantastic collection.
Now, when I was there, you shared an interesting story with me about a history of a specific car that bounced back and forth between you and Vasek.
Yeah, I had met Vasek during the 1973 Can-Am series, and he was running a car for Jody Scheckter, and he and I became friends and really liked each other. So basically, the SCCA made rules that made that car completely uncompetitive during the 74 season. So we basically stopped the season at the midway point in 74, and I brought the car back, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. So Vasek calls me and he said, "I'll buy your car. I'll give you $60,000 for it with a set of wheels." So I
in
said,
1974.
In 1974. So I cut my losses down almost, a little over half, and I sold it to him. He came down, put it on a truck, took it to California, put it in his showroom, in the corner of his showroom, and it sat there in the corner of his showroom, same paint scheme as Brumos, my name on it, everything, until 1991, and we bought it back from him in 1991 for a lot more money than he paid
grand.
me. No, not 60 grand, unfortunately, but we were just lucky to be able to get that car. Vasek was a wonderful custodian of that car for so many years, and then we bought it. We went up to Willow Springs to do the test run. Dan Davis and myself flew out there, and Vasek was out there, and he was so excited that we were able to be reunited with that car, and it's been in the collection ever since. So
That's
we're
awesome.
really lucky to have it.
Now, speaking of the collection, you shared with me some big news about a year ago. I think we got to update everybody on what happened with Brumos and what you guys are doing now.
Yeah, Brumos was sold almost a year ago, a little over a year ago.
Just the dealer.
Just
So
the
the
dealerships.
Mercedes, the Porsche, and the Lexus dealer.
Yep. And so everything that was branded under the Brumos umbrella, which included 2 Mercedes-Benz dealerships, 2 Lexus, and the Porsche dealership, was sold to the Field Group out of Chicago. And but we controlled the name Brumos, so Dan has that. He's the custodian of the brand Brumos, and we are in the middle of building a new facility for the collection cars. And that'll be finish maybe in about a year from now. And once that is completed, then we will reintroduce the brand name.
Now, can I share with them the story of how you went to the city to get the address changed on the building?
Well, it really wasn't that complicated.
Yeah.
They were more than happy to accommodate us, and it's 59 Lee Road, and of course 59 is the number that Brumos has had for years. I basically, started my racing with 59,
Yeah.
so it was nice to be able to have that number on the building, and it didn't really take too much coaching from the city to get it. So
Yeah, I mean, you're probably one of their most famous sons, the city of
Yeah.
Jacksonville, basically. So what's going on now with Brumos? Where does it go from now? Because you're going to move the collection, you're going to get it away from where it is now with behind the Mercedes store. So what are you guys going to be doing in the next year or so?
building the new facility. So once that facility is built, and it'll be multi-use, so there'll be a beautiful dining room in it. There'll be the race shop will be there. So the facility will be able to showcase the cars in a much better light than they are right now. So it's really going to be a magnificent, architecturally important building, and it'll be close to roads that we'll be able to use to exercise the cars on without having to take them on the public highway. So that'll be important. Now when we do that, we have to put the cars on a transporter, take them to a racetrack, take them out, run them, and then bring them back home. So now we're just...
It's kind of like Get Smart. It's like a facility within a facility within a facility.
Yeah.
You got to go through like secret gates to get
Yeah.
in there.
So that's going to be cool. So we're all looking forward to that. And, in the meantime, we're just doing sort of the events that we want to do. Next week we're going to Indy and race some of the Millers up there in the vintage car racing.
And that's the Miller that I saw down there that you guys have in your
Yep.
collection.
Yep.
That's awesome. Now there's also some big news. You just dropped the bomb on me this afternoon about something happening in the next year or so.
Well, actually, yeah, two things. One is a book being written by Sean Cridlin. It's going to be basically from day one to the present, talking about racing, talking about lots of different things. And it's going to really be exciting. And that book is going to dovetail into when the documentary is going to be released. So they should be released very close to each other. The documentary was filmed by a guy named Derek Dodge, and it's being co-produced by Patrick Dempsey. So I'm really excited about that. That will basically deal with the early part of my career, the 70s and 80s, but it's going to be, talking not only racing, but sort of the personal side of Hurley too. So it should be
that's awesome.
interesting. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to that project.
So am I.
I think what we need to do is we need to leave a question for the audience. And I was thinking on this. Now that I've seen your collection, I've seen most of the cars you got in the collection, and knowing some of your background, I want to pose to the audience, what is their favorite car that you raced? Now, I think to kick it off, what's the favorite car you ever raced?
Well, that's kind of like asking a father who their favorite kid
Yeah.
is. I mean, it's a hard question to answer. I think from just the sheer joy of driving a car, it was the 936 that I drove at Le Mans, and I drove basically 3 iterations of that car, starting in 1977 and then ending in 1981, which was the last version of that car under the Jules sponsorship, and that was with the Porsche Indy engine in it. That was a real sweetheart. So, but that car had all of the properties that make driving a race car an enjoyable experience. But so many of the other cars, the 962s were phenomenal. The early 911s were great. 935s were great. So it's a difficult question to answer, and especially, I've had success in all those cars. I've won races with the 962s. I've won races with all the 911 deviations. So, trying to pick one that's more important or more enjoyable to drive, and they're so different to drive. A 911 is very different than driving a 962.
Okay, there you heard it from the man himself. What's your answer to your favorite car that Hurley raced? Let me know in the comments below or via our social media, MotoManTV all one word, MotoManTV all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, I want to leave you with two things. Have you subscribed to my channel? Have you downloaded my app?
Yeah, I get your app. I watch it.
See, Hurley does. That means you need to subscribe and you need to download the app.
And I'm completely illiterate when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I got your
Actually,
your
I
app.
see you on your phone, and you're
Yeah.
good about it. You're very quick about emails, I have to say.
Yeah.
I'll give you that, especially for guys who've been racing Porsches. And then I want to leave them with a fun fact. You know what? Here's the fun fact. Tell them about that 928, that special 928 you have. It's like an ambulance 928 or something like that.
Yeah, it was actually the IMSA safety car,
Yeah.
the ambulance, and and basically it went into disrepair. It was out in a field, and Bob Songgrass saw it, and he said, "Well, we'll take that and we'll clean it up and restore it and put all the right stuff in it." And we have that in collection. So the lights work, the siren works, all the safety, the jaws of life, all that stuff is in the back. So it's kind of cool to be able to have that, and it's sort of the old school, the old days of IMSA. When they had that car, and it was a 928, and it's cool to have that.
It's cool normally to have a 928, but to have a 928 safety car just blew my mind when I saw it. Hurley, thank you as always.
MotoMan,
We'll talk more.
always a pleasure.
I can't wait to read your book.
Okay.
Until we see you guys next time, bis später.